AEW Fight Forever. One of the biggest flops of a wrestling game of all time. A game that was announced many years ago to much fan applause but would finally release just over a year ago on June 29th, 2023. Understandably, as fans of wrestling games, we were all like, oh great, the company that prides themselves on being an alternative is going to bring a fresh spin on what at the time was a floundering 2K series in the midst of their worst game of all time. The initial announcement coming not too long after the release of shit. And then 2K, of course, would go on to release WWE 2K Battlegrounds, which, of course, is a whole other conversation. But when we got those initial Fight Forever images, it came with a mixed reaction. Some people initially thought, ew, what the fuck is this? What are these graphics? You're never gonna compete with 2K. Ew, what the hell is this? Come on, man. And those with their head a little more tightly screwed on were aware that these were just early images and they had a long way to go in development. It was early, but we were excited. What could a wrestling game look like when made by the alternative? How could they be different to 2K? Could they bring back things fans want so badly, like custom music, story design, and match types, some kind of season mode? The potential was endless. And the reason it felt so endless in terms of the possibility is because initially we didn't really have a timeline as to when the game would release. All we knew was AEW and THQ were working on a wrestling game with the idea that they wanted to restore the feeling of the older wrestling games like WWF No Mercy. And I feel like most of us kind of said, okay, cool, we're gonna let you cook. Let them cook a little bit.
Seymour, the house is on fire!
No, Mother, it's just
AEW Fight Forever.
But the problem therein lies when, in the few years after these screenshots, the game looked a percentage better, but overall the game dropped being very shallow, and it was clear from an instant that they should have either delayed it and taken more time with it, or they should have done a better job at putting in content that could extend the lifespan of the game. I mean, I'm sure you've heard that quote, right? A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad, and that is some of the realest shit I've ever heard in my life, Your Honor. And I should make it super clear for anyone just now seeing me, or, you know, anyone new around here, which, by the way, hey, YouTube viewer, how you doing? But I am a big believer in content over graphics. I know I may not be in the majority nowadays when it comes to that, but growing up playing PS2 games, I didn't care what GTA San Andreas looked like. I cared about the sheer amount of things you could do in the game, and my views on that have not altered with shiny new graphics. A game like Red Dead 2 is a prime example of a game that nails both graphics and content, but in no way am I ever saying Fight Forever could have been Red Dead Redemption 2. Point is, in general, as long as the game is fun and has a lot for me, the consumer, to do, which extends the overall lifespan, then I have no problem with it looking like dog shit. 2K20. But in the case of this game, they failed on both fronts because to most fans, it didn't look great, and to the rest of the fan base, it didn't play great either. One thing that really terrified me on the road to AEW Fight Forever was how much they were really hammering home that line of, it's gonna be like WWF No Mercy. It really looks like WWF No Mercy. This is gonna be just like WWF No Mercy. Because for as much as I can understand how good that game may have been in 1999 and the early 2000s, it's not the early 2000s anymore. It's time to move on. I understand that a key part of their marketing was also, hey, these controls are so easy. It's so easy to pick up and play. Anybody can enjoy. Okay, cool. But here's the problem. There's really no point in that approach if this is how the scenario is every single time.
Nice, alright. Well, that was fun. But now what?
I've only been playing for a matter of hours and I've done everything. Where are more match types? Road to Elite, it's so repetitive. And there's no community creations? What is that? Why is this game so shallow? I don't even have anything left to do? Kinda like in my life. It's all so shallow and repetitive. Much like Fight Forever. Does anything even matter?
Okay, that was maybe a bit of a slight exaggeration, but you see my point. I am all for a friendly, easy to pick up game, but this game was less that and simply just lacking content, which honestly is really sad because I'm not a Fight Forever hater, okay? Fight Forever legitimately does have its moments. It does have some positives. It's fun, fast-paced, and far more arcade than 2K had been in years at that point, with its simulation style, which can sometimes be slower than what Fight Forever was providing. The variety of weapons you could get, like the skateboard in a match as if you're the second coming of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, lit. And a variety of other weapons in this game that made no DQ matches genuinely interesting and fun to play because of how unique they were. The fact I could play a match that saw a skateboard, a flaming table, thumbtacks, and then a thumbtack boot among other things was fire, and I really enjoyed that. And so in the future, as I would imagine there will be, whenever we get, you know, whatever the name is, AEW Fight Forever 2, the weapon physics and the weapons in this game are something you guys really fucking nailed, and I think you can only build on that to get it even better and more creative, because AEW, when it comes to weapons, is quite creative. I literally saw a man get hung upside down a matter of weeks ago. It's not even really a weapon, that's just like a fun Friday night for a guy like me. If we're being super for real right now, you haven't really lived until a bad goth girl has, Speaking of weapons and shenanigans, the exploding barbed wire death matches, really cool addition. I am not an AEW hater, unless being an AEW hater is just being a super fan of this woman, because she's the best. I'm more of a AEW, I want to see you be the best you can be, but you seem to be making so many decisions that I can't actively support anymore. I know I've made many videos about AEW Fight Forever, both sharing my excitement and sharing my disgust with where the game went, but that doesn't necessarily mean I hate the company. I mean, for goodness sake, I literally got all the achievements on Steam, by the way, the proverbial platinum trophy if you were on PlayStation. It's not like I didn't give this game more of a shot than most, and I never even really finished making the video I was making out of that because of so much that was going on in my life at the time, but I was going to make the platinum trophy video, and I still could. That's why I never want to be painted as someone that hates Fight Forever or is either, you know, super fanboy of Fight Forever. I'm somewhere in the middle. I just want a good wrestling game from this company, and I feel like we will someday. And I also, you know, put this much time into the game and getting the platinum trophy because I had to be sure that my opinions on the things I liked and the things I didn't like were valid. I genuinely mean it when I say I just wanted what was best for this game as someone that has played wrestling games for a while and could actively see the mistakes they were making in real time. The roster and the release of DLC roster members being one of their bigger mistakes that only led to more negative press around the time. The game dropped with a mostly outdated roster because it took such a long time to develop, and AEW had changed so much in those 3 years that they never really stood a chance of keeping up with the pace, but they at least promised post-launch DLC wrestlers. The downside, however, of these post-launch DLC members, you know, people like Swerve, Samoa Joe, Tony Storm, my wife Jamie Hayter, god I miss her so much, or even my goat Adam Copeland aka Edge, was so far after the launch of the game that it almost doesn't even really matter anymore. You see, you can add sprinkles to a piece of dirt, but underneath those sprinkles, it's still a piece of dirt. And realistically, I think the only people that would be happy with that is like Sipsco. Did any of you used to watch the Yogscast? You remember Sipsco, how they used to make dirt in Minecraft and that was like their whole business? Maybe they'd be happy with sprinkled dirt. They were probably selling it back in 2012. That might have been a really niche reference. Most of you probably... I think most of us have no problem waiting for post-launch content, but you simply can't expect a fan base to continue playing a game that struggles to sustain itself on its base content as we wait for things to make the game more interesting. I mean, for God's sake, maybe if this game had some kind of community creations feature, it would have at least given it a fighting chance, but it didn't, so it was forever doomed. They do have community custom wrestlers now, but these are just customs created by actual AEW wrestlers instead of actual core creators. Listen, with all due respect, I'd much rather see stuff made by him than him.
He's cooking here, brother.
They did go ahead and bring in the Stadium Stampede Battle Royale mode, you know, kind of like a mix between Fortnite and like other Battle Royale games. And that was a post-launch piece of content. And to be fair, it is pretty fun, but again, too little too late for me. I have played a little bit of that game mode. It is genuinely worth going back and playing, but again, it's like most people now have already uninstalled the game. They've seen the negative press. It's too late. By the time the mode was added, most people had already uninstalled and stopped playing for good. This game reached historic lows of players as well on Steam, even entering double digits. Like, I even checked just to be sure before I started recording this video. There are currently 17 people playing on Steam. 17! I think that's the first time I've seen it be 17, okay? It's 17 again. Word to Zac Efron, it's 17 again. One more time and that's a splash! Oh my god. The mode is maybe one of the more glimmering hopes of this game. I don't really see it being revived to a full extent, but the whole seasonal thing they're doing right now with DLC and Stadium Stampede will at least keep the game having a pulse.
You like that?
Not that pulse, we like him. And Fight Forever, much like most wrestling games, came with its own bugs and glitches, but it wasn't on a disastrous level like kind of level. It was never really at an unplayable level for me, but it just didn't help the overall case the game was making among all the other fire that was going on around it. You know, as it was literally fighting for its life. Road to Elite was a large part of the marketing for this game too. A career mode that would span the first year of AEW from the opening press conference through Double or Nothing and the year of events that followed. I replayed this mode at least like 10 times in that first week or two, because that was one of the achievements you needed to get for the Platinum Trophy or for all the achievements on Steam. And let me tell you something. That was a grind. Well, that's not me necessarily saying it was a painful grind, because the first couple times it was pretty fun discovering all the various paths. The first couple times I played through this mode, it really did provide that replay value that I'm always talking about, because there were so many different paths that you could take, and there were different paths based on whether or not you win or you lose or you do certain things in the mode. You know, certain points change how the story goes, and that was really cool. For example, right, the opening casino battle royal that you played at the start of Road to Elite, if you won that, it took you in a different direction than if you lost that. And not only just with that opening choice, but you know, if you went down the loser's path of losing that first match, then there were different wins and losses you could go down. There was, like, you know, the path that led to the gauntlet match with Big Show in there, and there was other stuff and the demonic stuff. There was different paths, which was really lit. But therein lies kind of another smaller problem, which I will bring up about this game. Having this level of content in a game, you know, these different paths and stuff, and looking at the state of the creation suite and, you know, the roster of where the game launched, it wasn't quite like a 60-70 pound game. But if this game was like, I don't know, like a 20 to 30, maybe 40 pound game, you'd be like, oh, this is pretty decent. I'm getting my value for money here. I also remember there being different match types in this mode, like the gauntlet match, which wasn't in the base game but was in this mode. They had fun little cutscenes that even had some unique little Easter eggs in.
Unless you were Deonte, you can suck it. The rest of you very good.
And who can forget the mini games in this game, which were a big part of RTE 2, mixing in with their own cutscenes. And I don't know if this is just because I'm a huge fan of, you know, like the Mario Party games or different games like that, but I really liked the mini games in Fight Forever. I did. Like, some of them were genuinely really fun. Some of them were a little bit pointless, and I'm kind of like, what the fuck am I doing here? But a lot of those were actually pretty decent and executed very well. So props there. And another thing that really went nowhere but was executed well initially was the item shop in AEW Fight Forever. Boy, what a flop that was. How cool it could have been, huh? Hot diggity dog. I mean, you want to talk about failed potential. You want to talk about, boy, I expected way more out of this. That as well. New skins, new arenas, customization options, and more have come since the launch of the game, but the item shop really could have been something more special than it was. Initially, it kind of seemed like the item shop would be more Fortnite-esque, where there was a bit more of a rotation of skins and different things in the item shop, kind of building up the hype of the item shop, and ooh, what's in the item shop today? What have I missed? What's rare now? What do I really want to see next time in the rotation? That kind of thing. Listen, I'm not even necessarily saying that I wanted it to be exactly like Fortnite, because at the end of the day, it's two different teams and budgets to be creating that much content on rotation at all times. In terms of having skins in the store with different rarities and things of that nature, it could have been so much more. I'm sorry. But all in all, it was kind of always going to be an uphill battle for AEW Fight Forever, because things always change in wrestling. Things are changing all the damn time. The roster in this game is very much 2019 to 2022 AEW, so you're not going to see stars like Mercedes Mone, who are making a big run right now in AEW. You know, people like her are going to be absent, the Young Bucks are 2 gimmicks behind, and any new stars they keep signing have little to no chance of being added before things change again. Like, I'm pretty sure the Young Bucks are almost doing this as a bit of a joke at this point, because I know as soon as they add in that Succession style Young Bucks thing they're doing right now, you know, like their theme song is basically just the Succession theme song. I like the theme song. The theme song's fire. I don't really fuck with the gimmick too much, but I like the theme song. And the entrance is pretty cool. My point is, as soon as they add the entrance, and the Young Bucks are going to be like, oh no, I think we're gonna switch it up now. We're good. That's kind of run its course. I'm sorry, Tony. Speaking of things that could have been so much more, given the lower player counts, it is pretty tough to enjoy Stadium Stampede consistently, because without players to fill the lobbies, the wait times are awful if you can find a game at all. I mean, for fuck's sake, with 17 people online, I've got a better chance of loading up my Xbox 360, putting in Battlefield 3, and finding a game on Caspian Border right now than finding a game in Fight Forever on PC. There is no one there. And I don't know if they have any any plans down the line to add bots into that mode just to make it more playable for people who don't have those players online, but I guess that's an option down the road. Although, to be honest, I'd much rather just go ahead and load into Nuketown 2025 with my fucking ballista class on combat training and play against bots in that game, because at least that'd be more entertaining than playing against bots in Stadium Stampede. But at the end of the day, right, we have to ask ourselves this question. Is this game, AEW Fight Forever, beyond saving? Is it beyond repair? Should they move on to a new project already? Yes. Are they going to do that? Probably not for a little bit. I think the name AEW Fight Forever is so damaged beyond its reputation that it's a lot smarter from a business standpoint to just move on. With all due respect, stop being fucking stubborn children who don't want to admit that they were wrong, grow up, take responsibility, and start again. It's fine. And by the way, I'm not even vouching for like a 2K level of release here from AEW games. I'm not vouching for a yearly release. I think that's probably too much anyway, especially for you guys who, you know, you had 3 years and this is what you produced. That sounds rude. I didn't mean for that to sound so aggressive. Oh shit. What I'm saying is you don't necessarily need a yearly release, but you also don't need to try and milk Fight Forever until 2026. You just don't. I understand you want to prove a point. You want to try and get this game back. Come on, bro. It's done. Look at him. He's cooked. You know, it's done. I think versus, you know, releasing a game every single year like 2K does, because again, different company, different studio, different team, different budget, at least aim for every 2 to 3 years. Like right now, you should be aiming on releasing that next AEW game at the start of 2026 or something, or maybe, you know, mid 2026, something like that. Although to be fair, most of us are going to be playing GTA 6 by then, so I don't know if I really give a fuck, but try your best. Because again, even releasing a new 2K every year has its issues, and I think sometimes the yearly cycle is a bit harsh because it doesn't allow for true development anyway. Best case scenario, you make another game like, I don't know, AEW, The Forbidden Door, you cross over with New Japan or something, and if that game's a banger, write that good press all the way to the bank, baby. And elsewhere, if you're on other platforms, it was pretty cheap anyway. It's gonna be pretty cheap. The price of this game really is only gonna go down, so if you still want to play it, you can. Like I said before, it's not all negative. This game does still have its moments, but it's just also the fact that it has a lot of flaws that leave a lot to be desired. And even a year after release, they are still adding content to the game. They are still trying to keep that pulse alive. Tony Khan even commenting in a press conference once saying that they're not going to stop adding content to this game. They are still very much going to keep on trying. So who knows? Crazier things have happened. I mean, maybe there will be a renaissance of Fight Forever and something will change everyone's views on this game somehow. But until that day comes, it's less Fight Forever and more mid forever.